Hey everyone, this is Robert from AIO Integrations back with our In the Queue for this week, talking about what's happening. We just got some great information about March and what has been happening in the world of cybersecurity in March. And you can see the biggest headline here is that we had 41.9 million records that were actually breached through incidences just in March of 2023 alone. This is really alarming because when we compare this data from last year to this year, it is up 931% over last year. The same over successful breaches last year to this year, it's up 931%. That is crazy numbers. I'm going to go over some of them that were breached. Some of these names you'll recognize, some you won't. We're going to talk about some of the smaller attacks because a lot of these are big companies. Like AT&T is one of them we're going to talk about today. But a lot of them are small companies. We're going to kind of talk about some of the smaller ones in these lists as well, so you understand where they're coming from. So some of the bigger breaches: Latitude Financial, 14 million records being compromised. Go Anywhere basically allowed it's I don't know how many records. It's not quite listing, but they're saying that they were targeted along with Hatch Bank, the city of Toronto, and some Rubik, Hitachi Energy, and some others. AT&T exposed approximately 9 million records. Really crazy. T-Mobile has had two breaches in the last 6 months. So these are two major carriers under some pretty heavy scrutiny right now from information being leaked. Now, if you continue to go on, and some of these are verified, some are not, but you're going to see some things for smaller areas like College of the Desert, saying they had a malware attack. We're talking about Denver Public Schools. Acer notified that they had 160 gigs of data stolen off one of their forums. And that's Acer. If you don't know who Acer is the computer and monitor manufacturer. I actually have many of their products, love them. Beaver Medical Group, North Star Emergency Medical Services. So again, we're seeing more healthcare. Latitude Financial. India's Department of Health was targeted last month. Ferrari was hit by a cyber criminal attack last month. We're also looking at Costa Rica. This is all over the map, but there was even one here for Chick-fil-A. Had an incident with some hackers going after their apps. We even saw something from a KFC in here. Texas Medical Liability Trust filed a notice of a cyber attack. Trinity Health Corporation, U.S. Wellness. Central National Bank, Texas AG security incident. We're Voya Financial Advisors. Wow. Breach leaking social security numbers. So, you're seeing a ton of stuff from KFC and Chick-fil-A's to government agencies. A lot of stuff going on. March was a very active month. The note here is that there's a lot of the activity is just off the board. One of the big things I want to make through one of our boards, we learned that Google ads are being manipulated to spread malware. This was a very interesting story. I wanted to kind of go into this and talk about this for a minute. We've always talked about the fact that Google ads, let's just say that Google ads can be bought by anybody, not just legitimate actors, but by hackers. And hackers will a lot of times hit keywords or things in order to advertise and fool people into thinking that there's something they're not. And that's why I always tell people when you're looking at Google results. So if you were to go into Google and let's just say we're going to go search for cyber security protection. I'm just looking down and typing this. I can't type without looking. So we got all these things, Cisco and everything else. But I want you to notice this. Do you see these top ones that say sponsored? These are ads. All right. The first results, the top results are always ads. The results for my actual search do not actually start until we get down to below this area right here where it says people also ask. If you're looking for a specific company, like for instance, I'm looking for our company, like AIO Integrations, and it pop right up. I didn't have to finish typing. But you can see here that now we aren't advertising, but you can see here it brought up all the places we are. But if there we were advertising or people were advertising on our using us as a keyword, you would see their ads first. You can see this is all stuff about us from different sources, different places we're listed. But my point to you is these first results are ads. Be very careful. Do not click on the ads. The ads, I mean, I realize you're putting money, you're helping, and you're putting money in somebody's pocket. But the fact is, they are not true results. These are people buying AdWords in order to get you to click, and hackers can use that just as much as legitimate sources. So I'm just telling you this to be aware. And we're seeing this start to happen in this area where hackers are using Google Ads to install malware and trick you into downloading malware and site tracking. So you can see here somebody was supposed to have their whole digital livelihood was violated by it. This stuff is happening, and we've been warning people about this kind of stuff for a long time. But I really want you guys to pay attention to stuff like this because it's very, very important. Them hijacking ads or creating ads is just another way of diverting legitimate traffic to illegitimate purposes. So I'm going to stop there on that and all the bad stuff. There is one more thing I want to talk about that we're creating a program for. So a lot of you don't know this, but for the last 3 or 4 years, I've worked with the Harmony Discovery Schools. I went into their high school here on the west side over on Barker Cypress, and I've actually conducted workshops during their classes that they do for the parent teacher, or not parent teacher, but parent student conferences. They have a day and they have workshops. I've done a cybersecurity and a managing technology, taming technology in a home session for 3 years in a row. It's been very well received. Did do it this year. I'm going to be doing it next year. We're looking to expand what we do in this educational side. But we've put some really interesting information together, and we're putting a new program together meant for families. And the reason why this has become important to us, for the last 5-6 years, I've been an advocate in this side, and I really want you to pay attention to this because this is extremely important. What we have found is that hackers are being very purposeful. They're being very businesslike and very purposeful in the data they're stealing. Why would hackers go after schools? I want you to think about this for a minute. They're not trying to manipulate grades. They are stealing records. Whose records are kept at the schools? Our children's. Okay? Our children's and our grandchildren. These records contain, among other things, their social security numbers, where they've lived, their immunization records, their health records. These things are contained within the school system. And so by hacking the schools, they get kind of a treasure trove of information in one place. And I'm going to tell you, the schools are not doing a good enough job of protecting our children's data. It's just, it's the fact. They don't, the actual people that are in charge of cybersecurity at schools that should be making and funding these decisions are not giving IT departments what they need. Even if they're recommending, their IT people come to them and say, we need this much for cybersecurity. They're just not willing to spend the money. They'd rather spend it on sports and other things that bring in other attention to the school districts other than cybersecurity. And they're not giving it due attention. And I'm not saying all districts are like this, but many of them are. And this is a huge problem. Sports taking funding from these legitimate programs and funneling them into other things like sports and things have always been an issue. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an anti-sports guy. I participated in high school sports, but it's become such an obsession of trying to get people into professional sports that they're willing to pass students. They're willing to do things they shouldn't do. And this, I'm talking in the public school sector that is using our taxpayer funded money to do this. So I have a lot of issues with that, and I'm not going to go on that soapbox right now, but here is the point. How many times have you seen these little things circulated on Facebook? And I'm going to pull up just a Facebook here real quick, and we'll take a look real quick. Let's just go to Facebook. And I'm not logged in right now as anybody, so I'm probably not going to see anything. So I'm not going to go here. Obviously, there's nothing here to show because I'm logged in. You all have seen the circulating little text that these kids pass around. And it has like 10 or 15 questions. And these questions just ask what seem like very innocent questions of our kids. And they're they're being posed as, to our kids as if they were coming from other kids. Like this is simply their friend asking them a question. What is your favorite color? Where were you born? What was the first grade school you went to? What's your first pet's name? Uh, these questions seem very innocent on the outside, but what you don't realize is these questions are the very same security questions that are used to protect your passwords at financial institutions and Facebook and Twitter and everything else in our social lives, meant to protect our passwords and our accounts. So I want to make you aware of something that's not being brought to public light enough. And this is something that parents, grandparents, families need to be aware of is happening. These hackers are breaking into schools for one reason: to build a database. They are so much further ahead of us in what we're thinking about and what we're aware of, that they're kind of like a magician. They show you one thing over here so they can do something over here, and you just have no idea what's going on. It's sleight of hand. So while you're worried about what they just got today and oh man, I'm worried about all this stuff happening, they are getting your kids' information. Then they are hitting those very same kids up through social media, called social engineering, and they are getting these questions answered, the very same questions they would answer as adults to answer their security questions. Now, there's some assumptions in play here that we're still going to be using those kind of things. I'm sure we will to a degree, but this is what's happening. They are building a database of these things and putting them together. So when our kids become adults, they already have the upper hand. They have their identity, they have their health records, they know all this personal information because they've been reverse engineering their social platform for the last 5 or 6 years. So when they are already at a disadvantage by the time they become an adult, because these hackers already have everything. We are building a platform, and it is going to be an educational platform we're going to be releasing very shortly. It is going to be targeted for parents and kids and families. And one part of it is going to be for parents and kids to attend together. They're going to teach you guys the common rules that we teach most employees and business owners, and that is how to recognize these threats, what's happening, how they get into our lives, how they're infiltrating our phones, and which are basically, these are the key to the universe in today's world. These phones hold the keys to the kingdom for both kids and for adults. So we need to talk about how that's happening, and we need to educate not just ourselves as parents, but we need to educate our children and make our children aware so they can be ahead of the game when they become adults, not behind the 8 ball, which is where they're at right now, because people are not putting 2 and 2 together and understanding that they are building this information for the future. And this is very real. It's very scary, and it's very real. And you need to be aware of it as a parent. If you have kids in high school, any kind of school, and you are worried about this kind of thing happening, we are going to start arming parents and children with knowledge about how to recognize these things, how to protect yourselves, the tools to protect yourselves. And then we're going to be doing a special section for parents. Kids probably won't like this very much, but we're going to be talking about how you can limit your kids' time online, how you can tame technology in the home. We're going to be talking about how to draw rules around that so you can build a really strong, productive family life without technology interfering with that, and take back control of the quality time your family has together. And in the digital world, like we say, go visit some grass, get away from the computer screen, have some quality time with your kids, be it dinner time or whatever, that does not involve having a phone in front of your face or a tablet or a computer, and reclaiming that time as a family so they can learn some really quality of life lessons now as children that they'll bring with and teach their kids and so on. And these are things that we've been teaching for quite a few years now. We've gotten so many positive feedbacks from the parents we've outreached to and talked to and taught these things to about how they've reclaimed their family time. So if you're interested in knowing about this, please message me directly. I'll be happy to tell you more about the program when it's going to be online. It is not here yet, but we are working on it, and we're going to have it out very, very soon. Anyway, have a fantastic week. Sorry for being, it's been a lot of stuff to assimilate over the last week, and I wanted to get information about this I wanted to confirm a lot of the things we just talked about today prior to talking about them. But I wanted to get this message out to parents because it is very, very, very important and nobody is talking about it. Nobody. And it needs to be talked about, and it needs to be talked about by more than us. This needs to get public national attention because if it doesn't, our kids and our grandkids are going to be in a very serious spot in the next. Anyway, have a wonderful week. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching In the Queue.